All right, everybody, welcome to this evening's Columbia Athletics Watch Party. Tonight, we're going to celebrate the 4th anniversary of the 2016 Lightweight Rowing IRA National Champions. It's the first IRA lightweight national title for the Lions and the first for any Columbia Varsity 8 crew since 1929. It just so also happened that this year, a camera crew was following the guys every step of the way for the documentary, The Boathouse, Columbia University Rowing. This documentary premiered in 2018 at Miller Theater, followed by multiple airings on ESPNU. I'd like to introduce everybody on this call. First with head coach of the Columbia University Lightweight Rowing, Nick Lee Parker. Welcome, Nick.
Hey, guys.
Former assistant coach, Jesse Foglia. Welcome, Jesse.
It's great to be here.
Starting with the bookends of the boat in bow seat, John Maloney, and stroke seat, Ben Londas.
Hello.
Hey, Nick.
Oliver in the 2 seat, also known as Twist. And yeah, Oliver, glad you could make it tonight.
Thanks for having me.
In a 3 seat, Jeff Monahan, also known as Chef Jeff.
Hey, how's it going?
And in the 4 seat, we had Colin Ross, aka King of the Poodles.
In the 5 seat, Will Solberg. Man of few words.
Okay, in the 6 seat, we had Jensen Carlgren, the fresh face from, where is it? New Mexico, Santa Fe, New Mexico.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, Jesse.
David Matola.
Hey, guys, thanks for doing this. Yeah, I was 7. Yep. Thanks for doing this, guys.
The coxswain seat, we had Jen Koo.
Everybody.
I'm going to let you guys get to it, but thank you all for being on. I'm going to let you guys discuss your national championship and the Boathouse, the great documentary was put together for you guys.
You learn to walk by falling over and over and over.
How many times have you guys watched this? I think this is literally the second time I've seen
And then
it.
the one time when you
Same
can't.
I think I've seen it like 3 or 4 times.
Might
Ben
be
and I
the
literally
same for
watched it
me,
last
yeah.
Round, and they're done.
It's such a sick shot, ball.
They've seen
I know.
great kids.
God, Will, I'm so
Yeah,
jealous.
Will.
Don't have the emotional
insane
capacity
shot
or
right
the
there.
resources
Rockin' bod.
or just the mental
None of us
fortitude
look the same.
to
It's
pick
okay.
themselves back
Pete.
up after they've gotten hit with some life
Oh, what up?
situations, and they
The pumpkin. It's the pumpkin
I'm
sweatshirt.
not going to catch you if you're falling. I'm just going to help pick you
Nick,
back
did you
up.
record this in your car by yourself?
No, we drove around and they asked questions.
Reverting to old habits. Colin and JC, you guys were hanging. Will, you dropped the shoulder.
What a day. What a
all
day
the
out
little
at sunny,
things,
glorious
I know.
Overbeck.
The day-to-day,
I feel like
days
my-
are the
let
best.
'em fall.
My memory of rowing was always like perfectly sunny, getting tan, all of that, but literally 90% of the year was that shot sitting in the rain freezing.
You did get a good start because you gave away.
This
all
was a
the
really
things
crappy
that
early
improved.
spring. I remember that.
That has
Super
to be
cold.
part of their
I think I remember this
experience.
day because we just got yelled at all day in the rain, and that's all we
For
did.
every student,
It worked.
the Boathouse
It
is going to be
worked.
something different.
Can't argue.
I do love that the starting sequence is all just footage from our own videos.
What a tag.
Yeah, wait.
What a
That's my
tag.
video.
That's
Wait a
That's-
second.
That's when we
That's
moved away
super
from the heavyweight varsity 8, right, or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's 2014.
That's exactly right.
And I
Yeah,
said we. I'm
yeah.
not sure I was even in that boat. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I want to say you were, but I don't remember.
I like to think that too.
Yeah, let's just go with yes.
Man, John, that haircut was something.
Yeah, that was. You had that haircut for like 3 years, and then you shifted it up.
John, what
When I
kind of
tried to
haircut
get-
you rocking now?
Well, I have my clippers here, so I've been like cutting the sides, but I don't put in the time to do my hair every day now that we're just sitting inside all day with Ben.
He doesn't. He stays
Sure. I don't care too much about impressing Ben.
Oh man, Twist! Look at that
Twist.
beard.
Dude, I missed that.
Oh my god.
I remember this.
Such a good
too.
moment.
Right in.
No hesitation. God.
Dude, that's
Good
well
respect,
sorry.
dude.
Right there.
Yeah.
Entitled, pompous, arrogant, annoying, out of touch with reality, wealthy, white person.
During like the Henley boat race, like racing against each other, and they get these big fancy trophies.
I'm from Germany. I don't know what Ivy Leagues are supposed to be like.
Yeah, man.
Was the
Those Harvard kids are the worst, huh?
Worst.
Their coaches are even worse. It's ridiculous.
We are different because you know we have a spandex on us, sweaty, dirty shirts.
I thought everyone was going to be like wearing blazers and walking around and, you know, using big words and stuff. If I were to like imitate them for you, they're ridiculous. They're not like that.
Not many big words going around.
No.
Whose idea was it to put the Instagram handle on the 4 for the IRA that one year?
I think it was
dude,
Mitch.
that was that was Mitch and Dan, the
Yeah,
original B team.
That was beautiful. Beautiful idea.
They had hashtag B team on the side of the 8 too. That was good.
And then we kept it on, right? Didn't we have it on for a few years? On different boats?
Still there.
We put that on for Henley, right?
Yeah. That's awesome. That's a big flex.
It was, yeah. That was a fun trip.
Yeah.
Fun is an understatement.
True.
We all work towards the same thing.
I've been getting motocross videos from Mitch the last week.
Yeah, me too. He rips nasty jumps, dude.
He does. Did you know he hired a coach?
No way.
I didn't know
Wow.
that. Moray Institute of Motocross, he's calling his farm.
Columbia's had rowing for a long time. They haven't had a lot of periods where the team's been super successful, like you might have at like Harvard or Princeton or Yale. Sometimes I feel like we can't attach ourselves to our history quite as much. Like if you go to Harvard, you step into their boathouse and it's like the same boathouse they've been rowing in for like 150 years, and there's like this mystique.
Oh yeah,
and
Jesse.
everything
Oh yeah.
surrounding it.
Oh yeah.
No, we have to cut this part
I
out.
mean,
Jesse.
Tell us about that, Jesse.
Some people may say I'm a prophet, you know? I was just forecasting the future.
Did you know then that you were gonna? Did you have offers yet?
No. Definitely not.
Sure.
Ben and I often talk about.
I had
how
to propel
driving-
you guys to enough success that I would get noticed.
Ben
Right.
and I often talked about how driving in these vans was maybe the scariest thing we've done in our life.
Dude, Jacob Buchek had no
Oh
fear.
my god.
It was so scary.
It was this year that there was that bad incident.
Back from the.
Yeah, I honestly wasn't worried if we were gonna win. I was worried if I was gonna survive to get to IRAs.
Well, Dave, you were driving the van.
Oh, I wasn't a driver this year.
You were one of the drivers. Yeah, you were.
I was not a driver this year.
It was me. It was me. I think in my car and Jacob in the other van. Hostages in the back.
Oh, yeah. Wait, but wasn't it this year where it was the classic picture of arriving at the van late and you being angry that we were all late?
Well, how many times were the vans like you couldn't get into the van lot? It was locked, or somebody, or like the van was supposed to take
2 times a week, 3 times a week.
As many times as in 2017 and 2018 that the bus was late. Like, literally every time.
One of the only times we got yelled at for the Instagram is I posted a picture of us all waiting for the bus and I tagged Academy and said another day Academy doesn't show up, and Nick texted me like 2 minutes later and was like, take it down.
The guys on the team really fell in love with the school and the city.
Sick.
And I didn't really care about how well the team was doing. I knew that I was going to have a good time.
Look
here,
at those
and I was
bicep
gonna
curls.
contribute a lot.
Like that's kind of like the hard reality. Every day I definitely felt, oh my God, like you might have lost the best opportunity. But I remember reaching out to Nick. He sent me an email back maybe within 2 minutes being like, hey, we'd love to get you down here.
It's not the school known for a stellar
That's what we want everyone to know.
program.
Right back in 2 minutes.
Kids that want to go to Columbia, it's for the academics and it's for the atmosphere of the city.
All right, 20 seconds.
So Nick, here's a question: would you rather row on the Harlem or not row at all?
I thought there were some really good performances overall. I think you're in a good
Do I have to answer?
You are geared for June 5th.
Well, I don't know if rowing on the Harlem is rowing.
That's
At
fair.
flat tide,
Even though there's
it's
3 boats
awesome.
competing, and there's a team
Uh,
championship,
it's-
the history of the sport is
You
that
can digest
one
it.
boat determines everybody's championship. And last year we had a number of injuries that kind of really got in the way on the 3rd and 2nd level crews.
While you're moving lightly, just make sure you're resetting the stroke you want.
When Jacob arrived, he worked his way into the varsity pretty quick his freshman year. And he's been in the middle of that boat for the last 3 years, the first time the program's medaled 3 years in a row. And this past summer, he was able to make a heavyweight for Canada and win a medal at the under-23 World Championships. So he's just got a really good feel for moving the boat, and he's got a really good ability to train.
I should probably mention that Jake is training with the Canadian national team right now.
Yeah, he's in that 4 that was getting ready to go to Last Chance Regatta.
Yeah.
So if we want to do better than 3 silver medals, we're going to have to do something more.
We were talking, Ben and I were talking the other day. Do you guys remember that 4 practice we did in Florida where Nick just screamed different drills at us for like every 2 seconds? And there was one boat that it was like all of the technical people in, and then one boat had all the power people. And it was like me and Ingram and like Dave, and we were flying down like oars twirling and like
Oh yeah, dude, that was super fun.
What I do remember is afterwards, I only asked your boat what you thought about that drill. I didn't ask the other boat because I wanted to keep doing it. So all I wanted to hear was, "Oh no, that was fun." And Ingram, he complied. He was like, "Oh no, I like that. Let's do more of that."
Yeah, our boat had a blast.
Yeah.
It's funny you say, like, you remember that practice where Nick was shouting a bunch of drills at us? It's like, yeah, I remember that like every day. It's like every 2 seconds the drill changes.
So one day it looks like, man, we really have got to work on this, and the next day that looks fine. And that's part of having a young team.
Build straight to 24. 3, 2, 1, rope.
Look at the goals posted under the mixed lineup, right? The goal is to develop your skill for June 5th. That's the goal. Don't throw anything you've done out the window. Yes? All right.
Nick, was that before or after George and Francois gave you the presentation?
Oh my god!
Holy
Spicy! Spicy your memories right there.
That was so funny.
And they've never.
Don't worry, I saved the presentation. It's going to come into our future.
Let's do a commentary on that one too.
Oh, that's so funny. Yeah. That'd be great.
Fractured vertebrae and broken ribs, had a bad concussion, and so she wanted to get in touch with Nick.
She just wrote me, "Hi Nick, can you call me as soon as you get this? It's concerning Jacob." I gave her a phone call, and she let me know that.
I forgot that was during Florida.
Had been transported.
Yeah, dude.
It was like 2 days beforehand. I was already down there.
That he was.
Yeah, Jake and I were going to meet at the airport because we're all going to Tampa Bay to hang out, like Colin, Twist, me, and Connor.
Vertebrae.
Most important.
We were all kind of waiting around for those like 2 or 3 days or something for him to have like emergency surgery or something, right?
Yeah.
Pretty sure we were like all waiting on hearing whether or not he was gonna like walk.
Got a message that they were going to have to perform a spinal.
Yeah, I think all the news we had was that he fractured his spine.
That was very good.
Yeah.
I think we first talked about it in that team meeting that they show in here.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you're right.
When we're in the
your own
conference
brother.
room.
And it has nothing to do with like the rowing, the season, whatever's going to happen for the team. Like, you just realize what that person's getting ready to go through, and that's hard.
At first, I didn't really know what to think. I kind of thought he was joking, like, this is not possible, like, this can't happen.
I remember because their team was not big at this point too. Because I feel like by the time I graduated, we had like 4.5 boats, right? But at this point, when you lost one person, it was like the whole thing was messed up.
John, this is that boat you were talking about.
Yeah, this is the new
I was hoping it wasn't that one.
Farther away from that than I would like to believe.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys remember this. I think there was one practice in the winter where I think we had 11 kids show up because of injuries, nutrition.
Yeah, it was like a 40-minute test.
That was
11 people did the 40.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, everyone's gonna fake sick on a 40-minute test, dude.
There were that 40-minute. Yeah, there were 11 people who did the test. There were like 35 on the team.
That's insane.
The people who did it were the ones who most of were you guys. I mean, I think all of you guys were actually in it.
Yeah, nothing quite like the Dodge Berg Center.
Wait, can I tell a funny story about Harrison?
I weirdly missed that place.
The most savage thing I ever saw someone do is, and we've all bombed on tests, so this isn't a bad thing about Harrison. But Harrison was not doing very well on a 40-minute, and he put his screen down, and Nick walked up and flipped the screen up and said, "Look at what you're doing," or he said, "You need to watch this happen." He had to finish
Pretty backwards. We went to church 3 times a week consistently, sometimes 4, twice on Sundays. I've grown up doing 2-a-days my whole life. And it was a really awesome household to grow up in, but also like really scary for me. So they had this camera placed. I thought they turned the one they were recording off, which I was like, great, now we're going to have a real conversation. I didn't think any of this had been recorded. They put the one in the back down, and I was like, oh, all right, so we're going to like have like a conversation.
I was always glad we did conversations like this and stuff, but we would always get emails that were like team meeting this day, this time, and we never knew what it was going to be about. And so we were either going to get screamed at, Nick was going to give us a heartfelt monologue about his life and our life, or we were going to get some sort of reward, and we never knew what it was going to be.
Did I really scream that much?
Yeah. Once we got in trouble a couple times.
Yeah.
Did you deserve it?
Yeah.
What I remember most are the vastly prolonged pauses. I remember the long pauses the most. Big speeches.
Yeah, one time we like broke a backstay or something, like it wasn't even that bad, and we dock, and Nick tries to give us this speech, and you were doing all these dramatic pauses, but you just did it too long. Like, I looked at him and thought, you just took a 1-minute pause. Like at some point we have to go to class. Like.
Dude, that was me. I broke that backstay, by the way.
What we realized this week has always been doing.
Oh, one time we were watching the singles and I knocked a single over and Jesse was so pissed at me. That's probably when I got yelled at the most, when I knocked that single over.
That was the most scared I've ever been.
I think you're misremembering. I don't know. I don't remember yelling ever.
One of the only times I remember Nick actually yelling was when, like, 8 days before the IRA, Bartow and Fred felt like getting in a wrestling match, and obviously Bartow threw Fred over his shoulder, with Nick standing right there, and yeah, you actually almost didn't even yell because you were just like imploding, and we just ran to the bus.
I feel like the time when Nick most yelled is if you walked off the bus.
Oh yeah.
You walked off the bus. That was a scream fest. Trevor Doctor
or carried the oars.
Never came back alive.
I remember one day though that we like got to the boathouse, we ran to get the boats, everything. And then all of a sudden, Nick was so pissed, and he screamed at us for like 5 minutes because we left the straps on the ground, which was never a rule before. Like, you decided on that day that that was a new rule. And from there on out, we didn't leave the straps on the ground, but it was like a new thing we decided one day in practice.
Definitely was a rule already. Definitely was a rule.
Close to you in a different way.
We love you, Nick.
Yeah, it was either
captain, my captain.
We were either being yelled at or we were doing the exercises where we would stare in each other's eyes for 7 minutes.
I like that. Super uncomfortable.
I was taught to not like homosexuals.
Dude, I did that with Jeff Ho. I think that was the toughest 7 minutes of my life. We cracked up like about every 15 seconds.
I don't want gay people in the infantry.
I miss Jeff Ho. Yeah.
Andrew Bartholomew of today wants to slap that Andrew because, like, dude, who cares? And Nick taught me that. Nick's not only my head coach, but
he's going to be one of my best friends for the rest of my life.
When's Bart's wedding
That-
supposed to be?
That has actually played out. I
2021.
Barto all the time.
I know what it's like
That's
to
awesome.
be in a firefight, being shot at, and having your heart going crazy, thinking, hey, I could be hit any second, I could die. I know what it feels like to walk around afraid that
I always remember
someone
conversations
will
with Bart would be
provide
like,
some lose my leg.
everything would be normal until you asked
I
like
don't know what it
slightly the
feels
wrong
like
question. Not the wrong question,
to
but it
not
would
be
just
comfortable
go off
being
into this
me.
tangent of some
I
insane
don't know what
story
it
of
feels
his
like to
experience in the
not
Marines and everything, and you never knew when a
trust
story
in
was
my
going to come
friends and
out. So
family to love me
in like the
regardless of who
strangest
I decide.
scenarios, we got the
It's
most
crazy.
intense
I
stories
don't
I've
know how
ever
you
heard
do it.
about like his life
I don't know
experiences.
how you do it.
When you are like neck and neck in a race and you're going to your own version of war in this like kind of competition we set up, the closer you know the people you're with, whether you like them or not, the closer you know them, the better you will be.
I like that, whether you like them or not.
Let's call it spade a spade.
Who did you not like the most?
One of the hardest weeks we had in training.
I like everybody now, bro.
Come on, admit it, Oliver.
Now you like everyone.
You don't like me.
Everything is very light. Literally, the work volume over the next,
What up, Ben?
is 6 to 7 hours, which is 30% of what.
Nothing like a wet or hug.
Recover.
When he finishes
I wouldn't have it any other way.
Be able to travel down to North
Do
Carolina.
we have any shots of Will with his gallon jug of water, like rolling around?
I mean, his gallon jug of
chocolate
milk.
milk. It was chocolate. You bring that thing into the boat, man.
This dude spilled a gallon of orange juice in the boat. It reeked of like rotten, disgusting orange
Well,
juice.
Dave,
for, like,
we knew how
weeks.
sensitive you got in there, so we need to keep you on your toes.
Oh my God, focus up, guys.
Multiple times Will's carton of milk would disintegrate, and so the whole thing would spill in the boat, and then we'd go up and over heads, and milk would just pour onto Solberg.
Dude, I respect the grind. The man needs
Yeah.
his protein.
I mean, keeping you guys tough.
Training and race preparation pieces, but really here specifically in this camp is seat racing. And we are comparing.
No love for the
guys
last
along
50 times
which
in the
seats.
West.
Yo, also, that was the greatest view for a shot ever. That's like, Lake Lure is the best place in the
My
world.
only solo shot.
Do you know what movie was filmed there?
Oh yeah, Dirty Dancing, dog.
Last of the Mohicans.
What?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Last Mohican too. Was this the
Really?
year that we ran down the mountain to that song?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had put the soundtrack on and ran through the woods.
Oh yeah.
That's nuts.
I am so excited. Yeah.
Dave and
Yeah.
or was it
a little bit higher stakes for me and
Ben and John? Didn't you guys like and Jeff? Didn't you guys like hike to one of the tops of the mountains there?
Yeah.
Jeff and I did
Ben?
Yeah, I never
Yeah.
did that.
Yo, my thing quit out. What? I guess what time are we at right now?
I think we're at 21:10. 21:10.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
I'm feeling really
21010, Chef.
where we
Come
are.
on.
It's the final.
It was at
That's not
07. I was trying to calculate the delay,
Chris,
man.
we all know how exact you are with that thing on your
It's
head,
so
man.
close, especially with this year's team.
The other thing I remember from this year is that this was the year we did the sea racing in Florida, and we did it in the straight fours, so we had to steer it. And that one, that Solberg crossed like 7 lanes throughout the entire series.
I was so for that sea race. I was in 3-seat and Will was in stroke. I distinctly remember at one point he was just going like 45.
Oh my God, dude, that was
and it was like, and I was just like,
No.
screw it, man, just go, don't even worry about
I think that I'm pretty sure that was actually the year before this.
Yeah, I was
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
But no, I distinctly remember that we were on a course at Sarasota. Like the toe was just not happening for me. And I was like, all right,
400 or 500 hours.
we added maybe 100
rust,
meters.
made it so much rust.
It was a pretty close race.
Dude, no, I think
we were like right there.
I think we did all right in the end, but it was yeah, it definitely was not the most efficient way to row.
Look at these clouds. That's
What?
No, it's kind of numb and weird.
Yeah.
We were all hanging out as a team in the EC suite.
Should remember that.
Alan Blazer was like, "Yo, Jake, you're bleeding through your shirt." And I thought maybe like, I mean, it's new skin, so obviously it's fragile. Maybe it got dry in the sauna or something and it cracked. It wasn't like tons of bleeding. It was literally like a little
Yeah, that
dab.
singular
It wasn't a big deal
band-aid
at
does a
all.
really good job of covering up the
But I
entire
guess
thing.
that might be a
It's like the
sign that
flex seal
my
of
body
his
is
spine.
rejecting one of the screws.
Flex tape?
I almost forgot to tell
Yeah,
my
flex
PT
tape.
guy, but I just mentioned it and could immediately tell he got a little bit worried.
I kind of want to.
Jesse, look at that color coordination with Jacob. You guys are such fashionistas.
I know I'm not supposed to.
Oh, you know me.
Well, I mean,
I was just always on the cutting edge of fashion.
Oh yeah.
Especially if we've heard.
Some of those art exhibitions you went to kept you up to speed.
It just sucks coming all the way down here and
I mean the overalls with the T-shirt, like I was like probably 5 or 6 years ahead of the time.
The boats are going well.
Just
You're in a
avant-garde
good
with it,
place.
not
Take
ahead.
that away, just the expectations of where I think they need to be so that you can have the worst day possible and still PR, worst day possible and still win.
I remember that.
Are really high. And I think that's where you guys all want to get, right? You want to be able to have a bad race and win. Right now, we need to have a good race. We're going to have really good races.
Colin
So we
looking
gotta keep it
bronzed and lean there.
Right?
Yeah.
The rainbow
At least one of the two.
says that my people are right.
Maybe
Here we
neither.
go.
How,
Here we are.
how much do you weigh right now?
Didn't get out of here, right?
Me, I'm around 188. I've gone up to 192.
So
when
you're
I was
lighter.
actually lifting.
So lighter.
Yeah,
than
I'm
you-
lighter. I'm lighter.
Cross right on 3. 1, 2, 3.
All right, circle up here.
So,
I think one of the important things to note is that
Dave, was this the year that
2 years
you,
ago,
Pete,
we were down here in
and
2014,
Solberg all lived in
we
the
couldn't have run
same
this
cabin?
matrix that we ran today.
Yeah, and we had the Disputicon.
Yeah, and you only ate rice for like 2 weeks.
That was a Dave move. I think we diversified. Dave was a little more
Look, I'm a simple man, all right?
I mean, very
Because
smart.
it's spaghetti bolognese sauce without the tomato sauce. It was just ground beef and pasta.
Wait, what's that? Say that again.
24-47.
You guys made
Murphy,
ground beef and
25-10.
pasta. Like that was the dinner. I distinctly remember
So
that.
we have some.
I just
I don't
remember
know if you guys knew this, but Jeff Ho was living with us too, and I saw him chow down a pound of chuck beef, a pound of pasta, and a pound of broccoli, and then throw it all up in like 30 minutes.
I
One
told
night.
you. Was this before a race or before like when was this?
This was on this trip. This was like for dinner. He was like, "No, dude, I'm gonna finish," and you could see he was really struggling. And then he just threw it all up. He's like, "Oh, I feel much better now." Yeah, obviously.
All it takes, no calories.
Yeah, man's got a plan.
That's why they pay us hundreds of thousands.
Jeff was always trying to find new supplements to take, and he was in a discussion session before one of the weigh-ins and took like that beetroot powder that we all used to have, and creatine, like, and all these other things. And he said that in the middle of a class he started feeling nauseous, and he like turned and threw up in his hand, and it was just red Jello. Oh, I gotta go.
I remember that. Yo, John, how about that star in the side of your head? That looks pretty good.
It looks so good. When I just went into a random barber and told them to do whatever they wanted, they did such a good job. And then the one that I have that you'll see later at the actual national championship was the worst thing that anyone's ever done to my head.
I have to it up.
But I think there's some good shots of it.
They messed
We
up
all
the
look so
C-150
skinny
from what I
though.
remember, right?
Looking good there, Will.
Like, you know,
Thank you. It's I'm very far from that at my current state. I've actually gone I don't know about you guys, but I've gone the opposite direction. I've gone down in weight.
I've done something similar, yeah.
Yeah, I remember. I was I had just finished rowing, and I was getting like a suit for my job. I remember telling the tailor, like, yeah, you know what, like, make the chest a little bigger because I'm gonna really chill out. And sure enough, 10 months later, I could probably be a weight maker. So
there you go.
When I remember that conversation because I remember going, I don't know who's more nervous about this conversation, Will or me, because I was like, I got to make sure that I'm ready to like have this conversation because I knew it was that important. Like Jesse and I talked about it before.
Every little thing you do. And if you get away with something, that's
I love watching this Princeton race in particular because, like, Princeton every year we had absolutely no idea what was going to happen. Like, you would train isolated for the entire year, and that was the first time that you could actually compare yourself to somebody. So I always remember, like, taking the first strokes in the start and just being like, whatever, like, we'll see what happens. And then it was always so cool.
This was the year that we like messed up the starting sequence like 3 times in a row in front of Marty Crotty. I counted wrong probably all 3 times. I'm pretty sure.
Well, I feel like John's got a good point there because like I feel like Princeton was always like what between 2 and 4. So you kind of had a sense coming out of that one where you fell.
Yeah.
Mistakes have.
Also, that year we lost Jake, obviously, and we lost like a couple of fast seniors the year before. So I did not think we would do well at all.
So what you do is you let them come in.
Yeah.
Then had a lot of faith.
And here's how we're gonna fix it. And
Classic German.
Fixing things is what they're good.
Very classic German.
Realistic.
As pessimistic as possible. It's no wonder.
I also kind of remember that North Carolina this year was not that good. Like, I feel like we all kind of left nervous after North Carolina because I think it was pretty rough.
I remember getting in the lineup, the preliminary lineup, and thinking that it was good. But I remember there was a really steep drop off. And then I thought when we got back to Overpeck, like the first 2 weeks week in the boat really sucked, was what I remember. Maybe that was a different year, but.
So well, I remember feeling the same thing, but Jesse had this external view, right? Because we were dividing practices, and he came around and he was like, "No, like look, every time they get to the second half of the piece and they just walk away, like." And he told me I was being stupid, that you guys were incredibly well prepared, and then we go to the Princeton race, and I'm like, "God damn it, Jesse, you're always right." And that was literally how I sat there because he got to see it, and I remember that like conversation.
Yeah, I was going to say, I thought things were going like reasonably well. Like I don't remember feeling like, oh, we're going to win everything at any point, but I certainly felt like we were moving in the right direction.
And basically,
I think one thing that was positive. We always had a pretty strong base. I mean, right from the get-go, right? Like even Princeton, we were down that first race to them, and then by the end, we were up 5 seconds, open water.
Like 8. Ben remembers the exact margin.
Yep. Yeah. Definitely saved my run career. No question about that.
I remember the Princeton race being just feeling like a really good piece. Like, obviously the start was rocky, but like through all of it, it just felt super strong.
I think the start was rocky because we'd done like 5 before we got to the actual race. Maybe 6. Like we hadn't done many. Like we really only focused on the base.
What they're going to want to do is
Yeah, we couldn't sprint for 99% of the year.
Well, we couldn't start for 99% of the year. I actually, flash
We
forward,
didn't even sprint at IRAs.
we didn't. At IRA, I remember riding on starboard on the second stroke. Like, I don't know if you guys remember that.
Wait, there's that recording that Eugen like overlaid your Coxswain recording to the video, and I love watching it because you like maybe 5 times in the second half of it, you're like, we're at a 38 and we're gonna bring it up to now, and then you pause and you go, and we're at a 38.
I was panicking the last time, pretty sure, the entire time.
Yeah. Well,
Look at that margin. Beautiful.
I listened to that Coxswain recording again recently, and what blows me away is that how aggressive. Like, I know we talked about like, oh, we're gonna go for broke. Like, we'd rather get like last and get silver for the IRA, but like it really was just all out. Like, huge calls and move every 10 seconds. It's like, we're going up. Catches, send.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly, I don't know how you guys felt throughout that, but I remember at 500 in, looking over and seeing we were down 3 seats to Yale and being like, those guys are
super focused on like
those guys are screwed.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Good save.
Also, that race is still coming. No one watching that.
Yeah.
last race. And,
That was a good start though, for sure.
Yeah, it was super fun.
The Princeton start, yeah. I feel like we relaxed, like as soon as we hit 400, 500 in, we were just sailing that race.
We were just zooming. Yeah, we were
because
gone.
we just got the nerves out that first 400. That's like why our start was so fast. We just got a whole season's worth.
Yeah.
Oh, true. I forgot about that.
Double barrel shotgun.
Love
Yeah.
that. Love that move.
Oh yeah.
Dude, I forgot about that. Whose idea was
what
that?
was
So,
that?
Who
I think it was
who
Dave.
was the idea for the concept and who had the name?
That was me.
Was it?
I thought it was
Sounds right.
a YouTube thing.
Yeah. Well, it was
I don't know, maybe.
Ledbetter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no, yeah, that wasn't me. That was Ledbetter. We did that in Florida. He came up with the idea.
Oh yeah.
Dude, I think that this was the worst wind I've ever rode in my entire life.
That's Brent.
It's Brent. Remember that, like, it was like a 35-mile-an-hour cross, or like with like a gust. I mean, like 30-mile-an-hour gust.
Oh yeah, dude, that was terrible.
Terrible.
With
John
Really,
Maloney
this was the
stroke,
peak
too.
of my rowing career, stroking this race, and I don't remember it at all. I remember nothing about this day.
We had to explain a year later that he was
Dude,
stroking.
Charles.
Oh,
I forgot about Charles. Oh, he's my homie.
God,
I love
man.
Charles.
They should have taken a shot of him rubbing us with the magnets.
Yeah, he gave us extra power with magnets before every race. That's actually how we won.
I'm pretty certain that it was this race where he rubbed me with the magnet. And he was like, "Did you just feel that? Like right when we were on the dock, you just feel that?"
Well, dude, he also wouldn't do it discreetly. He'd do it like while you were launching. Other teams would look at us and be like, "What is this voodoo magic?" Like,
why aren't we doing it?
Yeah.
We had Jesse's jungle juice during the weigh-ins, and then Charles's magnet therapy.
Oh yeah.
Also, Jesse,
Twist, do you remember? Sorry. I was just gonna say, Twist, do you remember falling in on the shove the day before this on the dock in front of like every other team?
No.
We shoved off the dock, and you were late. You were like putting your shoes off or whatever, and you tried to jump on the boat, and you went down through the rigger.
Oh my god.
We pulled you back up.
That's insane.
Forgot how awful this race was.
Yeah, dude, it was like a head-to-head cross, and it was terrible.
Yo, this was the year where in the heat, Will, you called out somebody.
Oh yeah, I think I said
middle of the race. Yeah, dude.
So,
that was so good.
We well, I don't. Well, I also said something in the IRA too, but I think it was.
I remember.
Yes.
Yeah, so we'll get to that at the IRA, but I remember, I think it must have been the heat at sprints. I said F you to a specific person in Princeton.
Yeah.
And the funniest thing was I remember in the heat at IRA, I don't know if you guys picked up on this, but Princeton launched the dock right next to us. And they were like giving us dirty looks the whole time.
Oh, yeah.
And I saw, they seem to be on a mission to I guess put us
in the first race, the betting shirt I got, I think I was in 60 the first race against Princeton. Somewhere between the truck and the 50 feet to come over and give us the betting shirts, mine got just dragged through the mud.
Yeah.
That was some good motivation.
That's awesome.
Princeton was with us for a long time.
So I feel like the documentary doesn't really explain that, but that was like the Ivy League championship, which we lost to Yale, and before that, we won every single race except for the race against Yale.
Yeah.
Well, and that was like 2 weeks before the national championship, so we had to turn it around in that time period.
Yeah, and I also feel like too, like coming off the Penn race, I feel like we thought we had made some good changes and we're really hoping to close that gap.
Yeah.
And then the way sprints played out, I mean, they kind of dropped us very quickly off the bat. You know, I don't know if you guys remember exactly when, but I think it was at 700. We were down about a length.
Yeah. I almost feel like that was the best way. That was like the best way we could have gone into IRA camp though, because it was like, at least in 2015, we got second at sprints, like second at IRA, we got second at sprints again. So it was like there was no reason to be worried about losing anything at this point, because like worst case scenario, we would just get second again, and like who cares? We already did that. So he like set us up to just not care and do whatever, because it didn't really matter at that point.
Yeah, I mean,
I love that. We're on the metal dock at sprints. We get second, and nobody's happy. It's awesome.
Dude, those
shot
photos
right
are so funny.
I know.
Like, the faces are so depressed. Like, you can kind of
all
see it
pissed
here.
off. Pretty sick.
The difference from just a few years before is just amazing.
Yeah.
I've had the season and then get second place and just be so pissed off that you're ready to just jump into Nick's crazy masochistic turning point for 3 weeks.
There was definitely inspiration drawn in this camp from Henley 2015. There was,
Yeah.
There was some of
Henley
that.
2015 was the hardest training camp I've ever done in my life. That was
Easily.
ridiculous.
It was
Spamain.
There was some questionable stuff going on in there.
And it's all Dave's fault because I remember Mitch.
Oh yeah, that one's on me, guys.
Mitch asked Dave, "Does this training plan look all right, or does it look too hard?" And Dave was like, "Yeah, no, it's fine." And I look at it a second later, and I'm like,
it was like we rode like 4 times a day, like not exaggerating. It was ridiculous.
And then we'd swim or we'd wind sprint after the row.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
It was legit 5 workouts a day.
Let off some steam.
That was when John was on his weird health kick too, where he was
and I
eating
ate like
seeds.
no carbs. And I was rowing like 4 times a day.
You were also so grumpy during.
You would eat like seeds and dirt.
Henley was amazing. That training camp was like, that was the worst week of my life. I hated that week.
And I think, that's not
Dave and I were eating
ever been
so
more
much
true than
food.
right now.
Oh yeah, we would get those like
Cookies.
Walmart frosted cookies and go through like a
that's
box
so
a
good.
day. It's so gross.
I mean, I feel like that's another thing they don't mention here is how much like weight we were cutting before every single race.
True, yeah.
That was the other weird thing.
Yeah, the bigger guys especially, like you and Will, I feel like man, respect, you guys cut a lot.
Well, dude, I remember Paul coming in to film the weight cut, and I remember thinking, there's absolutely no way this ends up in the video.
You can't air that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not what we want.
Putting in a little bit more than what
We
we
actually
actually
run it, like,
heavier
very
now than I
different
had to
now.
be before a race. Before a race.
What's that, Ben?
I'm 40 pounds heavier now than I had to be the day before a race.
You're resting at 200?
More or less, I'm close.
Wow.
All right, respect.
Nice, dude.
You're about 125% heavier than me.
Yeah.
I have to say, this was one of the things where I realized I knew you guys could win, and after that race, I was sitting there going like, man, like we don't figure this out. This is our fault, not like your guys's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your fault.
That's how we felt. Like I remember Dan German and I and Jesse and I were talking about the training, and I remember going like we got to do something because like they can do it.
A group of guys who could have won last.
This
Your
training
John's
camp-
fall from grace. I remember I got moved from stroke to 5, and then 2 more practices later, you were like, just go back to Bell. All right.
This IRA training camp though was super friggin' fun. I remember how
Yeah.
everything was just going so well too. It's just super fun to be out there. And we do like dusk rows.
It was awesome.
Those dust rows were unreal. And I feel like what was the whole thesis too was like just every stroke as hard as you possibly can go.
Yeah.
Grade 18, like just all out.
Well,
You know what I remember
did
about
those,
the
like,
dusk
sorry, you
rows
go.
is that in Val there were so many mosquitoes that I would collect bugs as we went, because at dawn at dusk they would start to come up and my back would just be covered in bugs when we got off the way.
Nice, dude.
Wait, everyone take a
That's
shot.
gross.
Is everyone taking a shot?
Oh yeah.
Wait, you took it
That's
seriously.
right.
Yeah.
Oh, what a great shot with Alan and Jesse in the background. That's awesome.
That is actually awesome.
I remember the 3 by 18 minutes? It was like
Shifting
minute
rates,
at 32,
3 minutes and 3
1
minutes.
minute-
Yeah.
It was like 1 minute at 32, 1 minute at 24, and the 24 was like as hard as humanly possible or something.
Dude,
like that.
I think that was the most perfect drill we ever could have done for what our boat needed to do. That,
Oh,
I
100%
remember that
agree.
drill, like, to me, that was IRA training, bro.
Yeah.
We did it like every
Plus
day.
the standing drill.
Yeah.
Plus the standing drill. If you guys want the standing
Yeah,
drill.
we came down the race course at like a 38, just like never falling down in power or rate. I
Yeah.
mean, that was just nasty execution and crazy training. IRA
Twist is dead on, dude. That's exactly what I think of.
And I don't know if you guys remember the drill. I think it was Jesse has to, where we were like sitting on the boat and he stood by the oar. And then we had to like toss
Oh
him.
yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
we had
that
it in
was
slings?
So,
Yeah,
that
that
was
was
so
super
good.
Yeah.
I want to employ that drill like as a coach now, but everyone I work for is like, you can't do that to a boat. You can't do that to a boat.
So, fact,
That's
I
free
tried
speed
that.
right there.
I tried that last year with my guys. We put a boat in slings, and I was telling some of my guys like hold the other end of the boat. And while someone just like ripped on it with the oar against my leg, and the boat freaking falls out of slings because they didn't hold on to it.
Oh,
And so the head coach is like, all right, we're never doing that again. That was the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Hey man, championships require sacrifices.
Boat was fine though, so I think it was valid.
I'm glad to hear that, Dave.
What wasn't this the camp that we did like a bunch of sprints as well? Like I don't think we did any with that, but I remember being up on the football field and having you guys like running sprints. So if you're hurting, like,
I remember 75% of the team on the first step every time would pull their hamstring and then hobble through the rest of it. And we did it like every time.
You just see someone go up and then like hobble, like, oh, another one down for the count.
Everybody would always pull their hamstring.
Meanwhile, Jesse was picking me up from PT in the city.
What are these meetings like? Because Jesse and I never went to these. Like, what was this conversation?
I mean, exactly like it looks like. I mean, it really was like, we would rather lose than get second. Let's just go.
Yeah. I think we just made like an agreement to be up at like 500 meters in, no matter what it took.
That close up that they just do of me, I'm like doing these deep breathing exercises, and it's because Dave got me in this awful habit of eating a pint of ice cream and cookies after the weigh-in, and I would do it every time, and I thought I was gonna have to go to the hospital.
Now, just because I suggested that you do that, it was your choice to actually go through with that, so that one's on you.
Also, for context, wait, is this the night before the heat or the final? Because
this is the final.
Remember?
Yeah, it's the final.
So we had just been told a few hours before that because of the wind conditions that
Yeah,
7:24 in the morning, and so this is
yeah.
at like 8 p.m. and for me, I know a
hours
few other guys,
before
but
every
also
race.
me, like
we
could not
did have
sleep
to get
before
it. Ben and
midnight.
I watched the most depressing. Ben and I watched the most depressing movie that morning. We got up at like 3 a.m. and we put on a movie. We were like, oh, let's put on something action-packed. And it was just the most depressing thing we could have possibly watched at that time.
Yeah, how many hours of sleep do you guys think you were rolling with that morning? I think I was at
5, 4, something like that.
Yeah, I can't sleep. I can never sleep before at least like 11:30, and I woke up at 3 or however long we needed to wake up.
Oh, right. Colin, you and I were rooming together at that point.
Yeah.
We
You
woke up
probably
early.
slept a little better than I did, but I did not sleep much that night.
Yeah.
Hold nothing back. Don't be afraid of it.
You gotta circulate that Cox recording again. I was trying to find it.
Yeah, I want to hear it again.
Yeah.
Jeff has all of
Pigeon,
them.
if you don't have
Ask me a time.
yeah, I have it as well. I could send it out to you guys if you want it.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Wait, the fake one or the real one?
These jerseys
I
were
forgot
so
about the
cool.
fake one. That was
That one is actually so funny.
I love
Oh yeah, that's right. That Bro 2K made that their video of the day.
Deservedly so. I mean,
wait, does Charles have magnets? What's
Yeah.
The comments were so mean.
yo, Jensen,
Jen, I took it
5-6
down.
love there.
Oh man.
Dude.
It's like the third time we're
I remember the night before you told me your Yale story the first time, and it got me so pumped for the next morning.
Yeej, I will never forget the day before this race. You were like, I just like don't know if we can win. I was like, thanks, Yeej. Really helping you do this.
We're in a room talking about how we're gonna go for broke. Come on.
Eugen's like, I don't think you guys can do it. It's gonna hurt really bad.
I remember getting like I remember getting like 300 meters into this and thinking like, I'm in a lot of pain right now.
Dude, I remember this before. I don't know about you guys, but I literally remember looking over at 500 and knowing. Like, was that similar for you guys or no?
Dude, I'm with Will on this one for sure.
Cal, I want to say Cal and Brown were like maybe the second 8 heavy or something. They were on the side warming up, and as we were going down after the start, I just remember these other boats shouting Columbia that had no reason to be like rooting for us, but just screaming after us. And that plus a few vulgar things coming from our boat as the crew behind us, that just fired me up. And I knew after 500, I knew we were going to do it.
What's unfortunate about the IRA recording is when it's dubbed over with EGen sound, we're going down, you hear some of those vulgar things get said, and then the video just like cuts out, and in that span of time you move like a length. So it's like magic. We're like even, and then boom.
Yeah, it was at
I
700.
think we moved
About
at
then we just started
750
moving
to like
a couple
900.
Right here,
every,
yeah.
like a seat
Yeah.
every stroke.
Yeah, 750.
We were just moving,
Yeah,
man.
dude. Oh my god.
When
we moved, we just ate them up.
Oh my god.
Oh yeah.
Like it was just like seat after seat after seat after seat.
Even to this day, man, when Will yelled in the middle of the race, I still get goosebumps, man, thinking about that. It was so fun.
I remember
I had no idea we were winning because I remember we were length up, and I thought Yale must have this. Like I thought like the other boats had to be with us. I didn't look at the boat at all, and like finally at like 1,100, you then said we are up on the entire field.
Dude, I actually remember that. That too gave me goosebumps.
That call, I remember that one. Huge, definitely.
Yeah.
Saying whatever you said about being up, we're up 2 lengths, or like a length on Yale and 2 lengths, whatever, on the whole field. That was a big call.
I just remember that last 500 in my head being like, "Don't crab, don't crab, don't
Dude,
crab, don't crab."
100%. I was like, "Don't." Oh, sorry.
I also like don't know if you guys know this, but in that last 500, my blade like skimmed the water like in a bad way. And I remember, oh my god, like 5 years are down the drain right here.
I had a thought like, Jeff, the only way you'll mess this up is if you crab, and I actively like remember just like taking my skying my blade every stroke because I was like, I'd rather sky. I don't care.
Oh, dude, yeah. I mean, our whole thing, right, was like keep the blade pretty close to the water and slip it in. And I definitely boosted that up a few inches in the last 500.
I think we all got so nervous in like the last 300, so we just did not take the rate up at all. We just sat at 39 for 500 meters.
I also remember pulling through the finish line and just seeing Charles sprint through the woods.
Oh yeah. It was like out in the water. I remember not being able to believe it.
Moment, though.
I not being able to believe that it like actually happened.
Yeah.
Like all day, I was like, I can't.
Because dude, like I mean, it's so like I don't know about you guys, but going in, like we have lost twice. Like it was so.
Yeah.
I mean, like I had a lot of confidence in us, and I had a lot of confidence that we would just like
Choice was to tell you
all out there. But what's that?
I also think that the loss from the year before, like in 2015, was like. I just remember the team coming off of that and thinking like that was the year where we could have won, and like, are we going to be able to do it again?
Yeah.
And
well, dude, think about it.
How
how rare is it for someone to lose a regular season race, a sprints race, and then come back and win the IRA like that?
Oh yeah,
it almost never happens.
Super rare.
Well, we were talking about that. I remember, like, just referencing the 2015 year, like Ben, like going into the training, you were like, well, we tried to do this last year, go from second to first, and we did not do it. So we got to get a little crazy if we're going to. You know?
I miss my cuffs. I miss my armbands. I should throw those on somewhere.
That's the thing.
Bring those back.
In 2015, people didn't train that hard. People were like, oh, it's like, we just graduated, we're going to go out and have a fun time, and then, like, no surprise if we didn't win. And then this year, we were like, okay, screw our private life, screw, like, everything else. We're just going to train as hard as we can for 3 weeks. And look at it.
Will almost didn't go to graduation.
I
don't even want to go. Oh, you didn't? Oh, wow.
I skipped graduation, yeah.
Yeah, worth it.
Man, I really miss you guys.
Worth
that was awesome. That was a lot of fun to look through.
Grab some beers.
Yeah.
Well, everyone go to Ohio.
Yeah.
Flights are really cheap these days.
Flights are always cheap to Ohio.
I think what I miss most about the group is Twist just being the icebreaker on everything. Like if there was tension within the group, Twist would be like, "Nah, let's go," from the bow and just instantly.
Or I'll just throw some coal into it until it explodes and kind of.
No, mainly Twist just didn't listen, so he didn't even know the stuff was going on. So.
Oh my god.
I miss that we would have these conversations, and then 3 days later, Eugen would like produce some epiphany about everybody's conversation and like just like crush us with like some really like, every time we did something, Eugen would have something, but it wouldn't come out for 3 days later.
You have the receipt.
Sounds right.
And it would be like very quiet. So he'd be like, yeah, well, you did this. And he would just like cut you down 3 days later. That was what I remember. Ready for it.
Yeah. You certainly like I've listened to some of the Coxon recordings because I'm giving out recordings to like Coxons that I coach now. So you just Coxon recordings are actually out there being listened to by the younger generation now, and like it's crazy. Like hard to remember just off the top of your head, but when you listen to him go, it's like pretty amazing Coxon. Like seriously.
I get a lot of secondhand embarrassment when I listen to those recordings, to be honest, because like I feel like coxing is such a, in a way, like primal and emotional thing that you're just like yelling for a long time, and that's just like not really how I am in real life. So when I listen to those recordings, I cringe a little bit.
Well, I also feel like it's tough.
Dude, you were so good.
It's
awesome.
tough
too, because like on those recordings, I feel like you're so in tune with the moment. Like everyone in the boat is kind of in a state of aggression, right? And you're kind of mirroring that. But then when you listen to the recording, you don't really sense that. You don't really feel that. You don't see the boats around you. So it's a very like isolated kind of snapshot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As someone who was there from your first Columbia coxing calls to the end, there's a whole lot of bad acts that emerged in year 4 that you were still honing the first 3 years. So.
In 2016, the race, like the final was perfect. It's like we had 2 seats and you told us instantly to take more. Called the move at the exact right point.
Yeah.
Now let's all go around and say our least favorite call Eugen ever made.
I mean, I'm sure there are many.
I just remember times when I wasn't quite getting my blade down to the water right, and Eugen would not stop. It's like every 2 strokes, Jeff, you're wrong.
What's actually really funny, what's funny about that is like if I ever felt like during practice there was like a lull in speaking, I would just default to something being like, Jeff, you're skying. Without actually really knowing you were.
Wait, that's hilarious.
I think
that's pretty much to say right now.
Meanwhile, like that meant so. I was like, oh my god, I screwed everything up. Like every time he said it.
Yeah,
and that also finally meant Jensen was going, thank God I'm not late.
He was probably still calling me out for that though. I was definitely still late.
Fashionably late.
There you go.
All right, next year, North Carolina, we come as alumni, book like one of the cabins and hang out and
we row this 8.
Yeah, I'd actually be super
row this 8 and repeat the current team and
no, we piece the UNC team again. We all have to make weight.
And we have just as much vino as the first 4 times.
Yes, yeah.
And then we go climb the mountain afterwards.
Yep.
Love it.
I'm down. That would be fun, actually.
Also, that was one thing. Sorry, I'm throwing this in here, but that was one thing that wasn't mentioned was the Mountain Men.
That speech from.
Well, that was what we call ourselves.
I thought that was the year before.
Was that the year before? Was that
Jesse and Nick's thing? Yeah, I think I still have that presentation.
Which year? 2015.
I thought that was 20. Yeah. I thought that was this winter.
No, that was the one.
No, it's 2015.
Oh, well, I'm just.
Speaking of good videos, you guys remember Jesse's winter training video?
So that was so hype. I still watch that video.
Yeah, dude, that was just honestly one of the best videos I've ever seen.
The shot of the snow coming down over the sea rock. Oh.
Yeah, and then it like shifts over to Dodge. Yeah,
super cool.
I'm still a big Jungle Rules fan, Jesse. That's my life mentality.
Oh, dude, yeah. Remember when you'd play like Welcome to the Jungle, like ahead of like a big
over the megaphone
on the iPhone over the megaphone.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys all know this, but the day before we left for the sprints that year, I flipped a launch at Overpeck.
Yeah. I knew that.
Yeah. So we were doing like, that closing 1250 or starting 1250 as fast as you can or whatever. And I was trying to like film and drive and yell jungle rules through the megaphone. I took my hand off the tiller and it
I remember you not having a phone. Yeah.
Launch flipped over, and I remember I crawled out and crawled on top of the launch and put my arms up over my head and just started yelling jungle rules. And then like sat down and just like hung my head in shame.
Good. I remember you commenting on like saying that you lost your phone and that the launch had flipped. Like, you're sad. You kind of like had a stern look on your face.
We also lost all your tools. I mean, it was like $1,000 of tools that are just gone.
Yeah. No, that was a day to remember. That was how we kicked off the Eastern sprints.
Hey, overpack is only like a meter deep, right? Like
you can stand at every point at overpack.
Yeah, I mean it's maybe the most opaque water known to man, but
I think I told you guys all of this when we finished, that this was always going to be the most special because it was the first, and 4 years later it's still super special and you guys are still awesome. So I was happy to be around for this, and but this was about you guys. You guys did all the stuff. You did the work. You made it happen, and I'm glad to see all of you guys are continuing to do that. And before I go, like every time, Jesse, anything?
I think the I mean the moment that stands out to me was like standing on the beach, like watching the last 300 meters of the race and like reliving like the 6 or 7 months prior to that moment with sort of each and every one of you, where we had like conversations about trying to figure out how to make it happen and like envisioning that coming to a reality. And I think there's like so few times in life where that's actually the case. And that was like the most special thing. So yeah, no, I was certainly probably up to this point, the most memorable moment in my coaching career was like being there with all of you, experiencing it together.
Absolutely.
Love you guys.
Yeah,
Love you too,
miss
Will.
you guys a lot.
Love you too, Will. Don't want to leave you hanging.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Jesse.
Hold on.
Bye.
See ya.
Do you want to do a countdown, or we just?
Let's
do
that.
We'll do it again.
Are we doing 3, 2, 1?
Yeah.
3, 2, 1.